Okay, so following on from the last session where we looked at Windows, this week we're going to look at creating a site model quickly, modifying and editing a site model, and site model graphics and the sort of properties
Everyone here, right?
within the site model.
Sorry, you started already.
Yeah, sorry. Can everyone here? We're going to start the BIM workshop. Thanks.
I have a shout. So yeah, so this week we're going to be looking at creating a site model, modifying and editing a site model, and site model graphic properties. So we haven't got a template file, so we're going to start from scratch. So if everybody wants to navigate to Vectorworks and click on File New, and choose the NMA default surveying template. Okay to that. You could reconnect to the server quickly. Oh, right, okay. So is not everyone's not connected to the server then? Okay, well it doesn't matter, just go file new, that's fine. It's not really that important. It's just kind of the principle. So has everybody got a new file open? Okay. Anyway, surveying, yes. I mean, that's just sort of first control in that first setting of the new surveying file. You don't have, if you're not connected to the server, it's not important. So scroll down to File, Import, DWG, and click that. Now, I'm already in the folder, but if you go to Apex House, which is 1614, 1614, yeah, drawings, incoming, incoming, GA, which is the folder for the site survey information, yeah. And then the top folder has the OS map and 3D data. So we're going to double click on that, and we've got a weird folder. This just came down with the file. Double click on that, and we have the options for the 3D data bundle. So we want to sort of select the 3D data bundle. Seriously. Sorry. So go back to GA, incoming. You on incoming? Apex House 1614. If you weren't playing with your phone, you would have got it. Yeah. We should have one of those boxes where you put your phone in the box for 5 minutes. Incoming. So GA. Yes, it's importing. Yeah. And then it's the top. Well, my computer's the top file. It's OS data. Double click in there, and you should have OS detail 3D data bundle. Yeah. You can see that? Right. Okay. So if you go to are you showing that? Yes. Cancel that. So import. So yeah, let's open that up. And it comes up with the import options. At this point, I'm going to talk about like the model space scale. For the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to leave the scale at 1:1. Now, it's a discussion we could have about what the model space should be, but I know we have it at 1:50 generally. But I've noticed when Vectorworks is generating information later on with site models and stuff, it works better if you're actually drawing at 1:1. Right. But anyway, that's a discussion. But if you change your paper scale to 1:1, I'll explain what I mean later when we get the graphic attributes up. So okay to that. And the scale at the top, we want to bring that in at 1:1 as well. So can you see the model space units? It's custom 1:1 up here. So everyone got that. So it's 1:1 and 1:1. Everybody got that bar? Yeah. Yes, yeah, so click custom.
You said that the location is
2D and 3D, yeah. That's it. Yeah.
The location.
Yes, we're going to go along to the top tabs, which is just there, and go to the location. And we're going to stick with the default, which centers it on the first import. So that's the recommended one. That's what we should all be doing, really. So just double check everything. 1-to-1, 1-to-1. Location
as well, Max. Just to
sorry. Yes, GA. Yes, it should be. Or is it G?
GA.
GA's. If you're importing a site, it should be GA. Yeah, for your prefix. That's at the bottom of the graphic attributes. That brings all the classes in with the GA prefix. Yeah, ticked. Sorry, that was automatic for me, and I presume that you would have that already ticked. So, okay to that. And hopefully it'll bring in a site model. Press 0 to bring it up. Does everyone have that image on their screen?
Yes.
Hit 1 to rotate the view. And then we have like apex houses of the site. And I've chosen this site because it's sort of got quite a decent gradient to it to be able to, and I've worked with it in the past, but yeah, decent gradient to cut into later. So here, this is a site, but it's not something we can work with. It's for starters, it's a 3D symbol. If you select the actual green area, it states that it's a symbol. So we need to we need to convert it to a group. So we need to get out of the symbol state. So convert, there's a shortcut everyone knows, convert to group. And then we'll OK to the top one. I think that I don't generally do this, but yeah, I'll just OK to it for the site. It's basically so you can edit the site model easily without having to go into symbols, without having to go into groups. You can just click on the site model and you're there. So we're left with a mesh. Yeah, sure. I can wait. Yeah. So you should, when you select the site, you should be left. It should sort of say mesh in your object info. Again, at this point, we were missing a step previously because you can't actually convert this. You need to go into the mesh. So if you double click on the mesh, and you might get a message, but double click. So we're inside the mesh, and this is made up of lots of polygons. I think they're 3D polygons. But if we just select all of them, and then go to AEC, terrain, create site model, and it brings up this dialog box, these options here. So at the moment, it's not really, we'll just leave this as it is for now. We'll come back to this, but if we OK that and exit the group, the site has disappeared. But if you go to plan view, you should be able to see the site. No, it might be to do with the scale. Might be to do with the scales and stuff. If it was, you're not really.
What's what it was like initially on mine?
Right, so jump to
What's yours jump to?
coordinates.
Yeah, it will do. But once we edit the site, it should go back. Yeah,
All right.
it's just a little. I think it's a little problem to us, but it is in the right coordinates.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But it's more about the editing the site
Yeah.
model. This. So do you all have like a plan view of the site?
You guys all right? Yeah.
It's still a group. When you select it, you're not getting the object info. So if we could ungroup the site, modify.
So I think just wait a second.
Yeah, sure. It's a group. Yeah, so we're gonna. That's okay. If it looks different, it's fine. It might be just to do with the settings on
Yeah,
the.
that's normal. Max done that as well.
Yeah.
Max says that when you. So it might have the origin of the site might have moved. Max says
It hasn't moved. It's just a little glitch. Yeah, it's a glitch. So you don't worry about it. It's not paying attention to the coordinates because it's not really about it. Where it's in the right place in real world coordinates, but I think there's a little bit of a glitch with editing. So let's ungroup the group because it's annoying. Yes, with class information. So now we should be able to select it, and it should be on site. You should have site model in your object info palette. Let's just, for good practice, just put it on the correct class, which is contours. B contours. Yeah. Oh, the hierarchy.
It's B, ZZ, 40, 50 contour.
Yeah. Everybody got sort of something.
Mine already says site model without a group yet.
Oh, right, well, that's great.
But now I've done that, I've got all these ones.
That's because you're probably still in a group. You probably didn't.
Even though it doesn't say group.
Well, you might have missed the stage where it was.
Oh,
It's just being able to, when you create a site model, it creates a symbol when it brings it in, and then it creates a group within the symbol. So it's just being able to edit it sort of directly, so getting rid of those kind of barriers. So you can, right. So going back to the one-to-one thing, I'm not sure everyone will have this displayed, but if you select the site and go to site model settings, on the left-hand side you have show labels, and you can tick that on, and it gives you the minor contour intervals and the major contour intervals. So it gives you the site information, which I think is quite helpful. If you don't have it one-to-one, that kind of information, those embedded labels are unscaled and they go mental.
Okay.
And sort of all over the place. So you can't actually use it as information.
Yeah.
So I mean, this might not be the reason, sole reason for drawing it one-to-one, but
Yeah, we'll have a chat about it.
yeah, that's fine. Right, okay. So now we've got a site. Yeah, that's fine. Go back to site model settings. I'm just looking at it's the information that shows on the contours. Because we've imported it one-to-one, they show at a decent size. If we'd imported it at 1:50, those little labels would be all out of sync. And have you got a site model there? Okay, right. If it's site model, then right. So if we have a look at this in 3D, it probably won't show anything. It does, it shows the contours. I want to be able to see the solid so I can sort of edit it. So I'm going to go back into site model settings, and I'm going to go to 3D display settings and change that to 3D extruded contours. This might help with other people lecturing with how it looks right now, because it sort of solidifies things. You can see what's going on. So let's have a look at the site. Does everybody have something that resembles a 3D extruded site? Yeah, okay. So that's how you get your site. We're going to modify the site now. We're going to look at pads and pads with retaining walls. There's a couple of ways you can do this. You can actually use the tool directly, which is over on the left-hand side in your tool palette. There's a little.
Trees, that.
Sorry?
Is that the one with the trees?
It's the one with the trees, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a little tractor, scoop, I can't remember what it's called anyway, which is a site modifiers tool. And you have your toolbar at the top, which, sorry, I'm just going to move this resource browser. Sorry, it's just getting in my way. At the top up here, which are the the different options you can use, which are pads with retaining walls, yeah, the different functions that you can modify the site in different ways. But I'm not going to use that tool. I'm going to just draw a rectangle. So I'm going to get a normal rectangle, and I want to cut across because the site falls away here quite steeply. I'm going to cut across that line so we can actually see the effect of us editing the site model. So if I just sort of draw a rectangle across the site, that might be the building outline, it might be something you're going to sculpt into the site, a mound that you're going to create. But once you've got that rectangle, you can right click on the rectangle, and this is a little tool, I mean, I'm sure lots of people are aware of this, but creating objects from shapes, and it gives you a menu box. And you can create lots of things for the shape. You can create pipe runs, property lines, rails, fencing, repetitive roadways. You can create lots of things, slabs, walls. Site modifier is what we're after. So if we go down and select site modifier, is everybody kind of there?
Yeah.
Site modifier. And OK to that. And it comes up with the object properties of the site modifier. Now, in the
Matt, sorry, have you got a sec?
Yeah,
Rachel's
sure.
having some issues. Do you want to just come and look at the screenshots?
Yeah.
This is the
It
site.
hasn't converted it to a site.
Okay.
It needs to go into the mesh and select it all ABC site model. That's still kind of the raw data format. Okay. Shall I just wait a second? I don't know. Should I carry on?
Yeah.
If everyone does have the object properties for the site modifier, you can sort of click the configuration box, and it gives you the options what you can do with the site modifier. And at this stage, you can create contours, extra contours. A spoil pile, I think it's an American term for an excavated pile of land. Spoil, you know, a heap.
It's like you're making a map.
Yes, so you can calculate how much stuff you need to put in a place and on site. I've not actually got that far with spoil pile, and I'm not sure what texture bed is, but we're going to concentrate on these two here. So if we select pad, wait for Alan. Alan, you all right?
Yeah, so Rich said it's a site model.
It doesn't look like it. It might be. No, it might be. It just might be the site model settings. It might not be a contoured. It might be triangulated. So she goes into the site model settings on the right-hand side and navigates and has a look at the actual graphic, 3D graphic properties.
Yeah, what are the contours?
The site modifier has an elevation, which is the important bit, the next bit, the next step, because you're looking at your site and you see the contours. It's at 93 meters above sea level, and we're cutting through 88 as well. So we could choose a figure slightly higher than 93, so let's say 93.2, and pop that in. And the other tricky bit about site models is you can apply it to the existing or the proposed.
So does it need to be meters there, or just 93?
Let's just write 93. If it's not letting you do points, just write a rounded number, because it's not letting me do a point either.
Yeah.
So I've just stuck to 93 meters. And then the next sort of tricky area to sort of remember or know is what it applies to, which is the proposed or the existing. Because we're adding to the site, I think I'm going to stick it on proposed.
2 seconds, sorry, can we just... what is it? Create objects.
Yeah, create object site modifier. Are you relaying that information? Okay.
Yeah,
I
just
see.
it's a cat caught up.
I mean, for the purpose of continuity, people can watch back at these tutorials if they miss a step or something. So
Yeah, well, should almost be that. Do you want to keep going then?
Yeah.
Right, that's great.
so apply to proposed and okay that. Right. If we go back into the 3D view, you'll see it's created a red line, which is, it's not really anything. It's just like a kind of transient object. It's not really, it's there, you can select it, but it doesn't show up. It's kind of not real. And the rectangles remained at the bottom. We can delete that if you wanted. But the modifier itself, it's kind of linked to the site, but it's not really anything. It's just there. So on the right-hand side, if we select the site, and I'll just drag out these options. You can see just under create a snapshot, halfway down your object menu, that it has 2D display, 2D style, 3D display, 3D style. Now if you go to the 3D display and click proposed, yeah, and then you have to update the site to see the effect.
So what height did you give the 93?
I gave it 93, just to be sort of. So we're building up to something. Right, and then yeah, click your site and click update, and you can see it's modified the site and created a plinth and ramped the contours up to that point. So that's what a pad is. I mean, I could move this pad higher. Let's have it. Let's just do that for the sake of it. So let's go a bit crazy. Why is someone finding that? And let's move the pad elevation up to, let's say, 98. Another 5 meters. You can see it's jumped up. Do I want to extend the minimum maximum? Yes. Okay, this might go a bit crazy because I think I've just extended it higher than the maximum contour level on the whole site. So I'm going to move it back down. I think that's what the message was telling me. Move it back down to, say, 95. Let's try 95. Right, okay. And then if we go click on the site and click update again, you should see it ramp. You know, it ramped up to that contour height. Right. So that's pads. If we select the, if you're able to select the site modifier, and we'll go over to the configuration and we'll change it to pad with retaining edge. Now, it's created like a second modifier. The weird thing is, it's still at 95 meters above sea level.
Sorry, which one did you take from the pad?
Pad with retaining edge. Yeah. And it creates like a second line, as you can see just there. The strange thing is that it's still sitting at 95. If I change the elevation to 88, so we're going to dig down into the site. Say, for example, you were creating a basement. Let's try 88, and you can see the second line has now dropped down.
Matt, sorry, my rectangle's not doing anything.
Have you changed it to pad with retaining edge?
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, and then it's not like cutting or stacking up.
Because have you updated your site?
Yeah, I updated the site.
Oh, right, okay. Have I got?
I maybe missed a little bit when I was talking about that. So, is there any settings I need to?
If you want to go to pad, just change it back to pad.
Yeah.
And then put it to say 93. Yeah, and now select your site.
Site. Yeah.
Site. Update, yeah. Right, I think your site's wrong.
Alright, says it's at like 80.
Oh, hang on, your existing only.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
right.
There you go.
Wicked, thanks.
That is a bit of a catch with editing the site. You have to, once you've made a change to the modifier, you have to then go and make sure it's applied to the right element of the site, whether it's the existing or the proposed. You have to just remember that, check what the modifier is assigned to, and our modifiers are assigned to proposed. So I've changed it to pad retaining edge. I've changed the elevation to 88, but the top rectangle remains at 93, but it's a kind of cutting rectangle. It's going to cut into the site. The retaining wall has dropped down to 88, which is great, but it's just a weird. You should have two figures for the top boundary and the bottom boundary, but it doesn't. So if we select the site model again and click update, you can see it's created a swimming pool.
But is there any offset from the outer the rectangle to the smaller one?
Sorry?
Is there like, how to say, the width of
The height, the actual back.
No, is the second rectangle is smaller than the first one?
No, it's not. It's the same. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same. I think it is. We can have a look. Yes, it's the same. Yeah. No, it's straight down. If you go to top plan view, you can just see it's one rectangle. So go back to 3D view.
Oh, I think it is. Oh, it did put it in animation. So it's like
Oh, is it stepping in? Oh, right, okay. It doesn't seem to. Maybe. Oh, yes, it does. Ever so slightly.
well, mine's got like those steps down.
Yeah, that might be because
Is it to do with slope definition?
it could be to do with slope definition. But it might be also because the top rectangle is higher. I mean, we could drop that down again and play with it. But you're going to get sort of anomalies where the ramping up to the edge of the first modifier doesn't always work. And yeah, you're right. It does ramp ever so slightly, doesn't it? But on plan view, it doesn't show that.
But when you created the second one,
Yes.
it seemed like it's smaller than the first one.
Yes, it did
That's
seem like it. But
Yeah, so when you drop it down,
back,
that's how
it could be. It could be to do with slope definition. Non-angled downward gradient 1%. You could try. It is on non-angle elevation at end 88, contoured angle 28 degrees. You could play around with that. I could try that at 90, say, see what happens. Updates. I don't think that's anything to do with it, to be honest. I'm not sure why it does that. But I suppose you could do it the opposite way and set your first rectangle out and then elevate it the opposite way and see what happens. Whether it fans out the opposite way. So that's creating a pad with a retaining edge, and you could play around with the levels and change the height. You can also do it manually. So if you select the site modifier, oops, sorry, it's very tricky to select once you've drawn it. There it is. Double click on it, it gives you grip points. So you could actually pull it up and down like so. So you could drag this higher. You might be able to actually get it in line now. Maybe not, but you could sort of manually. It seems to only want to go up and down. See, or this end here, you can pull up. So if there's any sort of minor adjustments you need to do, and it's hard to calculate, the it's going to be crazy. And then you click on the site again and update the site and see what happens. So it's kind of ramped down in that corner. They're the two main tools for editing a site. So if you need to cut into a site or mound up to create a plinth for a building, they're the two tools you use. And then we'll just quickly look at the site model settings again and just look at some of the graphic attributes. So you have a tab in the bottom left-hand corner which you bring up, and you can choose what class your major contours are on, your minor contours, the cuts, the fills, the 3D grid. You've got total control over how the model displays, but I haven't had much joy in change. Even though I've changed the classes, it doesn't seem to display the site any different. It just wants to stay green. So I'm not going to sort of pursue that right now. Again, you've got the labels, so you can show the labels. You've got show flow arrows, which show the oh, hang on, what's happened there? I've lost my model.
Did you get someone else?
Yes, you've got the sort of gradients. I think I don't quite understand the flow arrows or which way they're pointing when it comes to. I think they're pointing up. So if I set the site again,
Treasure map.
yes, it's a bit of a treasure map. Let's take those off because I don't really need them. But I think the labels are quite good for if you're trying to work out immediate levels and sort of where things sit. Then you've got your styles, which obviously we looked at briefly before. You could select triangles, coloured slopes if you want to define things for certain presentations. Then you can change the contour intervals at the top here, and the major, and that's like every meter there'll be a minor contour interval, and every 5 meters there'll be a major one. Because it's rounded the figure up to meters, it can't actually change that to 0.5. But you might be able to change to 0.5, but the site might go a bit crazy. But it just gives it a bit more of a smooth fanning out of the site when it looks.
So, do these modifiers work if you have it as a mesh?
No, it needs to be a site.
Because it is, but this is a site, and then one of the settings in it, in that option,
Oh, in the
is 3D
styles.
mesh solid.
Yeah, I think that's just.
It still behaves as a site model, though. It's
Yes.
just using a mesh, whereas
I
originally
mean,
it was
like
a
that
mesh.
might appear better in like your 3D views and stuff than having the like.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, well let's have a
So
look.
it still works.
Let's change it and have a look at the. I've lost my site. I don't know what's happened. Doesn't seem very happy with the mesh.
Mine's right.
Is it?
Yes.
You guys got some good mesh action.
Yeah, mine's alright, actually.
Right.
I
I haven't.
should to do this the other day, so-
Is that not, the origin's not quite right now, so is that not the site model somewhere else?
No, my site model's.
Was there?
Yeah, I think it's in the right place. Yeah, look,
Right.
my coordinates are where they should be. But for some reason, when it changed it to mesh, I don't know why my site model disappeared. And it's also created. Sorry. Yeah. But that's how you can sort of play around with the site model graphics. You know, the styles, the labels, the arrows, the pen styles, and the fills. You can create snapshots. So, like, if it's a phasing of how you're editing your site model, you can create snapshots. I'm not sure where the snapshots save to because I've not utilized that tool. That's another thing you can do. It saves them somewhere like views. So the view for your site before it's excavated, after, you can save snapshots. So if anybody explores that avenue, let me know because I don't know that. And you can save the style. So like anything in Vectorworks, you can like save a style. If you create a stair in one project, if you save it as a style, that stair can then be used across any scheme with one click rather than having to change all those graphic attributes again. Not necessarily the kind of height parameters, or anything, but just like how a style, you know, whether it's got a metal balance strip. It's the same with sites. You can create a style and you can apply that across projects. So yeah, that's how you create a site, edit a site, and manipulate its graphics. Any questions or comments or tips?
There's
Yes.
something that I do with site models, where you like right click on it and you can add a lot more data in. So, like,
Yes,
for
that's right.
example, this site model, you've got quite a steep slope between the two sides.
Yeah.
But if you wanted like more accurate information about that, I use like the site survey data, which has some spot heights on,
Yes.
and then you can sort of edit it by adding in those.
Is that
spot
by
heights.
going to modify and then?
So you just right click on the
Oh,
site.
you right click on the site itself. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I've lost my site. It's disappeared. I don't know where it's gone. Hold on, I'll
So
go back.
yeah, you just right click on the site one, and you can edit source data, and then you can add extra.
Yes, that's
data
right.
into
Yeah, yeah, you can.
that, which sort of makes it a bit easier to do than having to.
What one's that, Kate? Sorry, where is that? You right click and then you go,
Right click and then not that. What's that?
Oh, sorry. Hang on. Let me just get the. Let me just get the site.
Edit site model source data.
Yeah. Edit site source.
I've still got. There's something's happened to my site. Oh, here we go. Right. So if I right click on it, edit site source. Yeah.
okay.
Please.
Yeah, and then you can add a logo into that.
Yeah, there it is.
You can add logo into that, and they
Yes,
will
you
sort of
can.
influence your site as well.
Okay, cool.
That's what I do for more detailed site.
It used to be able to detect clashes. So you'd go into the
Yeah.
site data and it'd have little sort of warning arrows where you've got a clash, but I think that's gone in this version. I haven't seen it anyway.
Well, it definitely shows clashes where you've got sort of two pads and they're at different levels.
Yes.
The pads are too close to one another.
They overlap. Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it shows it in this.
So you can edit the source data. There are ways of creating sites from text files as well. So if you get a text file with raw sort of, you can input that information quite easily. So if you haven't bought a site and there's sort of someone that has got the spot height, as a text file you can create one and it creates all the 3D low key.
Okay. Because I've just been adding them in.
It plots them where they should be. But if you ever have that data,
Yeah,
it's
like from the
Yeah.
Excel.
yeah, from Excel or just a text file, a raw text file.
I have a question about displaying it. So
Yeah.
you have these settings where you can show existing or show proposed.
Yeah.
Because I've had this before, I've got two views and I want to show like an existing 3D view and a proposed 3D view.
Mhm.
But it seems like in the file you reference in, I can figure out how to make it show the existing terrain in one viewport and the proposed in.
I don't think you can. That's
You
what,
don't, okay.
You have to have a separate site model.
Yeah.
that's pretty. That's a good point because how do you control the site model settings when it's a
Yes.
reference?
I don't know if there's a way of doing that. I mean, I could have had separate files and showed it as existing in one sheet file, but it's just I wanted the two on the one sheet.
Sheet,
It
yeah.
didn't seem to be possible, so maybe that's just not possible. I wasn't sure if anyone had had that problem.
I can't see a way around that
Because I was
without
just,
having two models.
I couldn't find a way of doing it.
You've got other little tools here for roads and roadways, but I mean, I've not really played around with those massing models, which I think Jose talked about on this last year, and car parking and things. But yeah, this is more about just editing the actual site and getting the site up and running.
So why is your buildings away from the site model? Sounds saying, okay.
Why are my buildings?
Yeah, the buildings, where's the buildings?
I don't know. I might have to,
Yeah, if you go 3D, you press 1 and zoom out,
yeah.
keep going. But you go on the left. I mean, that's what I've got on mine.
Okay, right. So it jumps. Oh,
Why
right.
are they
Okay.
not the same?
It should be in the same place. It might be something to do with when we
Oh, the building's there, and that's the site. You see that?
Yeah, no, actually, it might be something to do with when we ungrouped it. So beware of that. Maybe that's what's throwing it out. Maybe.
Mine stayed on, I think.
but
Yeah.
you can right.
Mine stayed on.
Have you still got any groups or symbols to edit it?
Use a different template, you press now.
I don't think it's that. No, it's nothing to do with
that.
template. All right. Well, same place. Got a bit of a mixed bag.
Do you want to do a bit of investigation, Max, instead?
Yeah, I've not had that problem before. I noticed it when I was preparing this.
Yeah.
My buildings were sat in the same place. Site was in the right place. So I think it's a little bit of a glitch,
I think
maybe.
sometimes, did you go into top plan view before
Yes.
you? Yeah, because if you don't go into top plan view, I found that it sort of skips over.
Uh,
But if you do it when you're in the 3D view,
Yeah.
you will leave it.
Yeah.
and you paste it. It doesn't-
So you want to be in top line.
Yeah,
top plan.
What?
I don't know if that.
If you're ungrouping and trying to get the site model out of the 3D symbol, do it in top plan, Kate safe. It could be that. Okay. Any more questions, comments?
Anyone else? No? Yeah. Right. Thanks, Max. That was really useful. Okay, the deadline for getting